listening to ChickFlicks with me, your host, alexisoteng. First of all, let me say I'm very sorry for the long hiatus. Typically, at the start of a new semester, I would say this is a new season. But because I didn't do as many episodes in season 3, I'm just gonna do a continuation of season 3. It's so good to be back. I had a really great summer. I got to do a lot of cool things. And one of the things I did was I started to expand like ChickFlicks. I now have a blog. It's called Simply Alexis, which I'm of course gonna put some graphics here so you can see. But this blog is basically like an extension of ChickFlicks to me. I now start writing reviews because, as you guys know, I shoot my show in the station at my university. It's a show for FAU, and when I'm home or at like breaks and things like that, I'm not able to like do this full production. And so I wanted to give you guys another way to like see my reviews and opinions on things happening in pop culture, in the industry, with films and television. So make sure you subscribe to that because it is free. Nothing to read my, no money you have to pay to read my articles. So definitely check it out. And guys, like, this is my last semester at FAU. So this will kind of be the last time you see ChickFlicks shot in this setup. It's so bittersweet because I started this podcast like 2 years ago now, running up on 3, and I've just had so much fun like taking it from just the audio format on Spotify to now taking it to video, and now of course it's like a full-fledged show with production. I edit it. And it's so fun. And this does not mean the end of ChickFlicks when I graduate, but it just means I'm just gonna have to get crafty and finding different ways to give you guys the same quality, the same entertainment in a video audio format at my house or wherever I go after graduation. But I'm really excited to see how we change and evolve. But until then, let's just enjoy the time we have together, okay? So today, my episode is gonna be about Beetlejuice. Definitely don't say that 3 times. Funny enough, I'm not a really big Beetlejuice fan. I love Winona Ryder, so of course I'd seen the film before, but I honestly think I've never seen it from start to finish. I'd seen it in parts. And so ahead of this film, I sat down to like actually watch it from start to finish. And like, yeah, I see why people really love this franchise. And so when I heard that they were doing a sequel, that was something I had on my list that I really wanted to review because we know Hollywood, as much as they love a sequel, good sequels are very hard to find. I think when we talk about a sequel that like does it justice, I always think about Shrek 2. It's an animated film. And while animated film and live action films are different, they still serve the same purpose of entertainment. And I'm a firm believer that animation is just as like, it's not even a genre, it's a medium to me. Like it's a movie, okay? I don't feel like when you put it in as animation in its own category, it limits it because you have funny animations, you have dramatic animations, serious, romance, there's genres within it. So to me, animation is just another medium of movies, but Shrek 2 is one of the best sequels to ever do it. Really, like, I think a lot of people, when they think of the Shrek franchise, they prefer Shrek 2. Like, everybody's like, that's my favorite one. So when it comes to sequels, especially in Hollywood, especially when they're redoing some of these older films from the 80s and 90s, they just never hit the same. They lose some of that magic of the original. And a film that I can think about, like they tried to do that, Ghostbusters. I think all of the Ghostbuster films that they have tried to like revamp the series and do sequels and things like that, it just never hit the same as the original Ghostbusters did. So I was a little bit worried, but of course Tim Burton was in charge of this. And so I was like, Tim Burton, he's a genius. We know him for so many amazing films. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you have The Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, this man does so many amazing films, and I'm just really excited to see what he was gonna do with Beetlejuice, especially because a lot of the old cast members were coming to reprise their roles, which that was really exciting to see. A lot of times when they're doing like revamps of the series, or they're bringing it back after a long time. Sometimes the original actors can't due to scheduling conflicts, or they've retired, or they're just not interested in like digging back that old part of their like discography, or filmography, to be correct. So like I said, sequels, they're in itself a very hard thing to do right. But I went into this film trying to like keep an open mind, especially because I had like never really been a big fan of Beetlejuice like some people are. I always thought it was like a good movie, but like I said, I'd never seen it from start to finish before. And so I was like, okay, I feel like I'll be a good person to like kind of see this and see it from an objective point of view, not comparing it to the first. So a little bit before we get into my review, which I'm gonna split this review into two parts. A part with no spoilers, where I'll just be talking about the film, but without giving away any major plot points or twists or things of that nature. And then the second half will be with spoilers. And of course, I will warn you guys when I'm starting that part. Okay, but let's start with the introduction. So right now on Rotten Tomatoes, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice has a critic score about 76% and an audience scores of 82%, which when I saw that prior to going into the film, I was like, okay, well, it's already certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. So I know at least this is not going to be a movie where I sit down, or at least I was like thinking, it's not gonna be a movie where I sit down and be like, this might be a shit show, right? Because sometimes when it's like 60% critic score and like 65% audience score, like you might really like it, but there's also that part where it's like you might actually agree with them and be like, yeah, this was bad. And the synopsis for Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is back. After an unexpected family tragedy, the three generations of the Dietz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Lydia's life is turned upside down with her rebellious teenage daughter Astrid discovers the mysterious model of the town in the attic, and the portal to the afterlife is accidentally opened. With trouble brewing in both realms, it's only a matter of time until someone says Beetlejuice's name 3 times, and the mischievous demon returns to unleash his very own brand of mayhem. All right, so in the cast, we have, of course, Michael Keaton coming back to play Beetlejuice, which when I heard that he's in his 70s, I was so surprised. That man looks so great for 70s. And if you're not familiar with his work, you might know him from, of course, the Beetlejuice franchise, but also Worth, Birdman, The Trial of the Chicago 7. We have Winona Ryder, which I love, especially if you know her from like Heathers, Edward Scissorhands, and of course, as we all know right now, Stranger Things. It's so great to see Winona Ryder back on like the big screen. Like she is where she belongs, and I really hope that after this film and after the conclusion of Stranger Things, she continues to like get these roles and continues to be within movies and films, because I absolutely adore her. We have Catherine O'Hara as Delia Dietz, Home Alone. You know her from Schitt's Creek, which is such a funny frickin' show. She actually does a lot of voice acting. She's done Frankenweenie, which is another Tim Burton film, and Nightmare Before Christmas. She does a lot of voice acting, and she's really good. And I feel like people, because sometimes we don't actually know who's voicing these characters in animation, we don't realize that like it's some of our favorite actors and actresses. We have Justin Theroux. I hope I'm saying that. I can't remember how to say it, but Rory, he plays Rory, who is Lydia's like boyfriend slash manager. He's in American Psycho. I specifically remember him from Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, the sequel, and Mulholland Drive. Jenna Ortega, so happy to see her, freaking love her. You know her from Disney and Stuck in the Middle, Wednesday, Scream, X. She's been killing it in the game, and I was really excited to see her in this film, but I was also scared of like, you know, when a star is just blowing up, they're getting all these roles and people start being like, oh my God, like it's just too much. We're being oversaturated with them. I was like, I hope people don't start doing that to her, because I'm sorry, she's one of these actresses that really deserves to be getting these roles. She's so good. And she honestly lives in the world of horror and thrillers and gothic dark themes. It's where she thrives. She's so amazing for them. So I was really happy to see her in this film. Monica Bellucci, I think it's pronounced. She plays Dolores LaVerge, who is the ex-wife of Beetlejuice. And you know her from the Matrix franchise. She was in The Passion of Christ, Spectre, and then William Dafoe as Wolf Jackson, a ghost detective. He's actually going to be in a film coming up soon called Nosferatu, which I'm really excited to see that. We also know him from the Spider-Man, Sam Raimi trilogy, and Poor Things recently. So this is a stacked cast. We have people in here who always give great performances, who are always a treat to see on the big screen. So when it comes to the cast, like, we're pretty much set performance-wise, in my opinion, when I was seeing it prior to seeing the film. But that's our introduction, so let's jump into my review. Of course, this part is with no spoilers, so feel free to continue to venture without worrying if I'm gonna spoil any twist. Now, when it comes to this film, I have to say one of the best parts about it is the performances from the actors. Michael Keaton kills it as Beetlejuice. He's actually not in the film for that long, to be honest. Like, I think he has the same amount of runtime in his original film, in the original Beetlejuice, as he does in this movie. Somebody said it's around 16 to 20 minutes, which is kind of surprising if that's true. Like, it felt like he was in the film for a lot more than 20 to 16 minutes. But if that's true, he had a larger than life presence. Like, truly, his performance was so good. He is so funny. He is so engaging. I don't know what parts were scripted and what parts he was just improving, but it doesn't matter. It was all great and it all worked. And it really brought back that magic of the original Beetlejuice. The eccentricism, is that a word? It was eccentric, okay? It was exciting. I was having a fun time watching him. And that's really important with a movie like Beetlejuice because it's supposed to be a fun time. Like, it's supposed to give you like mystery, dark, thriller, things like that. But it's also supposed to be fun. And like, he delivers that. Another person who does, Catherine O'Hara. Like, she's such a great comedic relief in this movie. Her performance is so good. And I just love watching her in this film. And yeah, the performances really help deliver this film to the next level. They really carry the film. And I say that because what wasn't as good and was definitely like obvious from the beginning was the writing was a bit all over the place. If you ask me like what this film was about, I couldn't really tell you in like a clear linear way. There was so many side arcs that kind of all converged into the plot. And then at some point they just all get solved in within a matter of like 3 to 5 minutes. And it's kind of hard to figure out, okay, what was the main thing that we were doing in this film? Like, what was the main action, the main point? Because funny enough, I don't think it's really tied to Beetlejuice that much, the character. I think it's tied to some of these other characters that are introduced. And there was a lot of plot holes. And having plot holes doesn't automatically mean that the movie is bad and that it's not good. There are films that have plot holes that I am still satisfied at the end. And while I didn't like get that like filled and I like still don't understand that point, I'm still satisfied and I still sit there like, yeah, this was great. At the end of Beetlejuice, I definitely was like, this was fun, but I have way more questions now than when I entered before the film. And I don't really think that's what you want to leave the viewer with. If they have questions, I feel like it shouldn't be the first thing that comes to mind when they think of, okay, how was this film? Do you get it? But in a brighter note, the look of this film was so good. And that's because they used a lot of practical effects. Sequels that happen like decades, years after the original, yeah, they're typically littered with CGI because, hey, we're in the new time. CGI is a part of a lot of films. We can't help it. But they used a lot of practical effects. And of course, we get to see, you know, stop motion. Of course, that's one of Tim Burton's like literal signatures. And so it was really cool, claymation, like getting to see that. And it just made me feel like, oh my God, we're like watching the original film, and it brings back that nostalgia and it connects it to the original. So the look of this film was stunning. Like, he just knows how to kill that cool, dark, gothic effect and aesthetic and like still make it colorful. It doesn't have to all be like muted colors. There can be color that can be fun, inviting, warmth, cool tones, warm tones, like it just all meshes together well. And so watching it, like as somebody who is obsessed with cinematography, it was a treat from start to finish. So that was really well. The cinematic sequences also are done well from start to finish. They just flow nicely, aesthetically, you're watching it and it's just a treat. So there was a lot of things to love about this film, especially the styling and fashion and the makeup. I think they did a great job at translating Lydia's style as a young teenager into an adult woman. Like it still feels like it's her, but a more matured version in her style. I feel like her daughter Astrid I was worried they would kind of lean too much into the gothic dark look for Astrid, especially because we know Jenna Ortega can handle that. She plays Wednesday. She looks amazing in that gothic aesthetic, but they did a good job at balancing it so that like they're their two own entities and it doesn't feel like a carbon copy of Wednesday or a carbon copy of Lydia. And outside of it, like Catherine O'Hara's makeup and styling, Michael Keaton's, Justin's, everybody, the way that they looked, so beautiful, so great. And yeah, there was a lot of camp in this film. Like there was a lot to love. A lot of the jokes they hit, I was laughing. Like there was never a time in this film where I wasn't having fun. But there, like I said, was a lot of times where I was sitting there and being like, wait, what? Like, I kind of don't understand what's like going on right now. And I think one of the biggest like points where I was just like, what is happening was the last 2 minutes of the film. I'm not even joking. I was sitting there and I was like, all right, I'm following along. I know what's happening. I get it. And then we went a little bit further and I was just like, okay, wasn't expecting that, but I'm not mad. And we went a little bit further and I was just like, okay, this kind of seems a little bit like fast. And then I was like, yeah, you've lost me. I really don't know what's going on at this point. And then the end happened and I was just like, what does this mean? Like, what is this supposed to like convey to us? Like, what was I supposed to take from this end sequence? And so like, do I think the film was bad? No, in no way, shape or form. I definitely think like I was still happy at the end of the film. I was still like, this is a great film. I enjoyed it. But I definitely think the writing is what drags this film down a bit. And so if I had to give like my star rating, yeah, it hesitantly sits at a 2.5 to 3. But I definitely say you should still go and see the film. So if you're watching this to try to figure out, is Beetlejuice the film you need to go see? I definitely would say like, you're gonna have a fun time. If you're a fan of Beetlejuice, you'll love this film. You're gonna have a fun time. You're gonna see so many references, some nostalgia, like Easter eggs that call back to the original film. It's gonna be a fun time with family, friends, or even by yourself. But as someone who like is a cinephile, loves movies, and like sometimes looks for like the deeper parts of the film or looks for like just to understand the film on a more like deeper level, yeah, you might sit there and be like, I don't get this, like there's some things that need to be answered. So for my no spoilers part of this review, if you're wondering like, should you go see this film? I definitely say it's a treat, definitely go watch it. But that doesn't mean that the film is perfect. And I definitely don't think it's a bad sequel, but it's not like a sequel we're gonna be talking about in the top 10 sequels to ever happen. All right, so now we're getting to the point where we're gonna talk about spoilers and like specifics about this film. So if you're trying not to be spoiled about any about that, definitely go watch the film and then you can come back and let me know if you agree with all the things I'm about to say. All right, first of all, who is the antagonist in this film? Because I feel like we have 3 and I don't know like which one was supposed to be the main one. And I know right now we're in a era of films where there doesn't need to be like this big protagonist or there doesn't need to be a big antagonist, or the antagonist doesn't actually need to be a person. Sometimes it's self-sabotage. Sometimes it's just something within us that is acting as an antagonist. I know Disney is moving towards that, trying to do less and less villains and trying to do more like there are themes that are acting as the antagonist. But I don't think that's what Beetlejuice was trying to do. And there were like 3 antagonists in this film. There was Monica's character, which is Dolores. She's supposed to be an antagonist. She's the ex-wife who is, I guess, coming back for Beetlejuice's soul. We get a little bit into his backstory and that he had an ex-wife before he tried to marry Lydia. And he marries Dolores. They have a great wedding night, and then she instantly tries to poison him to take his soul, and he like chops her up and kills her. That's like the backstory. And now she's back, and she's just going around soul sucking other like undead creatures so she can find Beetlejuice. And he's not even like actively trying to destroy her. He's just really avoiding her. Like that is like what he's doing. And then we have a surprise antagonist, which is supposed to be like Rory, who's played by Justin. He, like I said, is like the boyfriend manager of Lydia, and he actually has bad motivations for wanting to marry her. He was trying to get her money, but that reveal is until the end. Prior to all of that, we just think he's just an eccentric, a little bit weird, something's off, but nothing like alarming off about him. And he is just like her boyfriend who's weird. Like that's what we're supposed to get from it, from what I'm assuming. So when it turns out he's an antagonist, like I don't think it was that surprising. It's like, yeah, something was off, but also like I don't feel like they did a good job at showing that he had like other motives and that he didn't just like her. There's Jeremy, who is a boy that Astrid meets in the town when they're visiting the old house that Lydia used to live in, the murder house. And she meets him, and one thing that made me know that he was an antagonist was he was reading Crime and Punishment, which is a book that talks about like the moral dilemmas of doing horrendous things for like a better end goal. And I'm just gonna say, if a man is reading a book about moral dilemmas and ethics nonchalantly, maybe run. That's just my opinion. Because why are we like arguing the ethics of murder for like, I don't know, humanitarian cause, like a good cause, just out in the open and like discussing it? That's weird. That's a little bit alarming. That was the first thing that told me immediately, oh, this guy is not good news. And I called it before. The twist is that he's actually dead. So Lydia can also see dead people. Oh, not Lydia, Astrid can see dead people as well. But I knew he was dead because of the fact that like, I don't know, just something about it. And I was like, it'd be a really good twist because the way he was dressed kind of gave off 90s. He was obsessed with record players. And also he had the book of the undead, which is like the book you get when you died. And he said he found it at a thrift market or at a yard sale. But like, if you watch the Beetlejuice franchise, you know that you only get that book if you died. So how does he have the book? He's dead. I called that. So I'll pat on the back for that. I knew it. Like I literally saw this guy and I was like, he's dead, isn't he? He's dead. Like, which I don't think that's a bad trait that I have, that I sometimes can see the twist before it comes. It's exciting to me because it's like cool. And it's like, oh, I was right. Like I saw all the little Easter eggs that and foreshadowing that was pointing to that. But he's also an antagonist. He tries to force and trick Astrid into trading her life for his, so that she's trapped in the underworld and afterlife forever and he gets to live his life. He also murdered his parents. So he is a psycho. Like before you start shipping them, he is a psycho. So these are already 3 antagonists. And then in some type of way, Beetlejuice is also an antagonist. So four, and mind you, all 4 are defeated in less than like 5 minutes. And 3 of them are defeated like in one go, back to back. That's kind of crazy. And like I said, it just felt all over the place because Lydia, like, she starts seeing Beetlejuice out of nowhere, like after all these years. And my question is, well, why is she just now seeing Beetlejuice? And I was like, okay, maybe it's because her father recently passed away. So that's why they go to this funeral and they go back to this old town and they go back to that house. So maybe that's why she's starting to see Beetlejuice, and she's like scared of him and she doesn't want to deal with him. But then Astrid gets taken into the afterlife and now she's willing to ask for his help, even though she's known before how asking for his help never goes the way you want it to, right? And then also Astrid's father, he also passed away. And it seems like Astrid and Lydia have a very strained relationship because Astrid wonders why Lydia can't see her father. Like, her mom claims to be able to see all these dead people, but the one person that really matters to Astrid who died, Lydia just cannot see. And that's caused a strain on the relationship. And Astrid says, like, oh, you don't even like mentioning Dad. Like, you don't like to talk about it. You avoid it. We never get an answer to why that is. Or at least it's not obvious to me. They do get a moment of reconciliation when Astrid and Lydia find the father in the afterlife, and they have like a little family moment, but it doesn't kind of answer why all these years Lydia just doesn't have that conversation with Astrid about about her father. And it seems like they were really happy. Like, it doesn't seem there was any love lost between them. They cherished each other. We get to see a photo album of them like together during Lydia's pregnancy with Astrid, a little bit after. They seem like a happy family. So I don't know if maybe they divorced. I don't think they ever divorced. I think he passed away and then they grew apart. But why is it she has such a hard time? Is it because of death? I'm not sure. And that is something that's unanswered. And it just seems that like once they all see each other in the afterlife, it's all solved. And I'm just like, okay. There's also a wedding sequence. That was really fun. But Lydia agrees to marry Rory. And when Astrid's like, why are you marrying him? She's just like, he seems good enough. What? Like, it just seems like she's just getting married out of convenience, and then she's mad to find out he's tricking her. But it's like, did you even really want to get married? It kind of felt like you were kind of like pushed into, and you were just like, yeah, I mean, I guess, why not? So these are some of the plot holes that I was talking about. It's just like, it doesn't ruin the film completely, but it definitely makes it confusing. And when I was talking about that end sequence that completely lost me, it's like, all right, they defeat Beetlejuice because part of the agreement to getting Lydia into the afterworld to save Astrid was that she was going to marry Beetlejuice, which I was like, it's so funny. He's still pining after her after all these years. And she makes a joke like, I'm sorry, the 800-year gap between us and the fact you wanted to marry me when I was 14 just doesn't do it for me. It kind of crosses some lines, right? But the fact of the matter is, he's like, I will help you, but you have to agree to marry me. And then Astrid, seeing the book of undead, unaliving, whatever, for like maybe 30 seconds is able to say, hey, you actually broke a rule, so that contract is null and void. How convenient. Like, she had that book for maybe a minute at the most, and she managed to find the one loophole they needed to break the contract. It just is like, okay, yeah, I mean, like, I'm not gonna hate on that too much, but it's just like, how convenient. It feels like the writers were like, how do we, like, get rid of Beetlejuice real quick, but not make it too complicated? Just have Astrid figure that out. Just let her find that loophole. And then, yeah, after that, Lydia's like, I gotta stop being afraid of living. Like, I gotta stop being attached to the undead and start living. So her and Astrid, one thing that Astrid always wanted to do with her father before he died was visit all these like cool haunted places. The end credit scene shows them going to Dracula's castle, and then Astrid sees this guy working there, and like she smirks at him and he smiles back, and then it flashes to their wedding. I'm not joking, to their wedding. And then it flashes again to Astrid and him like giving birth to a kid, and Lydia watching from like the waiting room, like double window. And then she gives birth to Beetlejuice's baby. I'm not joking. Like, that is literally a Beetlejuice baby. And then, like, she's holding the baby after, like, it pukes, and Astrid smiles. And then it cuts, and it was all a dream. And Lydia's in her bed, waking up like, and then she looks, and Beetlejuice is next to her. And then she wakes up again, and nobody's next to her. And then the film ends. I'm not lying or exaggerating, guys. That's literally the end sequence. And when I saw that, Now you can kind of guess why I was just like, what's going on? Because my first question is, how much time has passed between like the end of, because everything takes place around Halloween and the night of Halloween. So how much time has passed between Halloween and her going to that Dracula's castle? Because Astrid in this film, like, yes, Jenna Ortega is like 21 years old. Astrid in this film though, no more than 16. There's no way. And then she meets this guy. How many years is between her meeting him and getting married? Because if it's not 5, Houston, we have a problem. Why is she getting married like at 18 or 17? And then when does the baby come in? How many years after that? Because mind you, Astrid does not look any different. They did not even try to age her up. She literally looks the same as she did that Halloween night giving birth. And yeah, it's a dream sequence, so whatever, but you guys could even just try to age her up. And so I don't know if this was supposed to be like a, hey guys, Beetlejuice isn't gone. There will be a 3rd film. And maybe that's what it was trying to do. Or maybe it was just trying to have fun and camp, and I shouldn't take it so seriously. But in that moment, I really was trying to like keep up with what was going on. But I was just like, I am lost. What is going on here? So yeah. But with all of that, I still had fun. Like, I still would go see this film again with my friends and see what other things I could notice, point out any other Easter eggs, maybe try to watch again now that I already know, see if I can find some of the answers to the plot holes. But all in all, I think the film is still like a really good time. Like, as crazy as it sounds, sometimes I'm a firm believer that not every film needs to be an Academy Award piece. We need those films that are just fun, that are just to have a good time, that are just to be silly, goofy, crazy, whatever, okay? Not every film needs to be an Academy Award performance nominated for Best Picture, like change the trajectory of film, okay? We need the simple films that are just fun. And I think Beetlejuice is one of those films originally that was just a fun time. It was different, it was cool, it was eccentric, it was crazy, dooky, like, and we all had fun watching it. So I think Beetlejuice 2, it's maybe in a couple of years we'll be looking back and being like, wow, you know, it has that same essence of the first. You either get it or you don't. And I feel like I'm crazy enough in between. I get it, but also I don't. Okay, let's get into my final thoughts and my final statements on Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Did I like Beetlejuice Beetlejuice? Yes, I did. Is it ChickFlicks approved? It's a soft, yes, it's ChickFlicks approved. I say go watch it. It's a good time. The Halloween season is upon us. Let's start it off right with a good time. Is this a masterpiece of a film? I wouldn't say, but the performances are really what just brings it to life, and it really what solidifies that 3 stars for me. I'm getting it 3 out of 5 stars. Like I said, writing the script at a film's basis is the foundation. If the script is heavily flawed, there's only so much ground you can make up for it in the cinematography and the sound and the design, the fashion, the styling. And I feel like Beetlejuice makes up for all of the craziness and convoluted plots with all of those other aspects. But I still have to knock off 2 stars for the fact that, like, at some point, I'm really questioning what's going on. But all in all, I definitely say, head out to the theaters, go and watch it. You're still gonna have a fun time. You're gonna love it. And if you're a Beetlejuice fan, there's so much to love. And yeah, guys, that is my final thoughts and my review. So let's get into my outro. You guys already know the drill. I'm gonna put all my socials right here. But if you're looking to find me, follow me. My public profile is alexisoteng on Instagram, and for the show, it's at the ChickFlicks Show. If you want to follow me on TikTok, I'm on X. I of course now have a blog, Substack. You need to follow me on there. It'll definitely be linked below. I have a link tree. Anything that you need that's all about ChickFlicks and me will be there. And so definitely keep up. Wherever you're watching this, whether this is on Spotify, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, on my channel specifically, or FAU Owl TV's channel, make sure you like, make sure you rate it 5 stars, make sure you leave a comment. Tell me, did you like the film? What were your favorite parts about it? What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm overthinking the film and I should just stop and just watch it and have a laugh? Whatever you think, I want to hear. And definitely, guys, this is not the end of me. I'm going to try to put out episodes weekly. They won't all be film reviews, which is something I'm happy to start doing because I don't want to just give you guys reviews. I want to give you guys my thoughts on things outside of just movie reviews and TV show reviews. Like, there's so much to talk about in this industry, in pop culture. So I'm going to be doing a lot more of that. But yeah, guys, it's so great to be back and I can't wait to see all of the fun things we do this semester. This is Alexis signing off at ChickFlicks. You guys have a good one. Bye.